You are not stuck because you're broken. You're stuck because you keep telling yourself the same story that holds you in place. But here's the truth. Your story isn't finished. It's just waiting for a rewrite. And today you hold the pen. Feeling stuck isn't a dead end. It's a signal. A whisper that says something inside you is ready to evolve. You don't need permission to start again. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need a decision to stop living the same chapter on repeat and start writing the one where you rise. Let's rewrite your story starting now. Number one question, we all have a story, a narrative playing in the background of our minds, shaping how we see ourselves and what we believe we're capable of. Some of that story was written by our experiences. Moments of failure, rejection, or shame, but much of it wasn't even written by us. It was handed to us by others, parents who doubted us, teachers who underestimated us, friends who judged us, or even a version of ourselves that stopped trying after a painful moment. But here's the truth, just because a story feels familiar doesn't mean it's accurate. And just because it's been repeated 1,000 times in your head doesn't make it fact. Ask yourself, what's the story I've been living by? Maybe it's I always mess things up, or I'm not the type of person who can change, or it's too late for me. These phrases seem small, but they're powerful. They become scripts that govern how you act, what you attempt, and when you give up. If you want to go from stuck to unstoppable, the first thing you must do is challenge these internal scripts. Ask deeper questions. Who told me this? When did I start believing it? What evidence do I have that it's actually true? And what if it's not true at all? Most of the time, the beliefs keeping you stuck are outdated. They were formed in a moment of fear or failure, and you've carried them ever since like they're law. But you've grown since then. You've learned. You've survived things you once thought would break you. Isn't it time your story caught up to your strength? Here's the thing. Your brain believes what you tell it most often. If you keep saying, this is just the way I am, your brain will look for proof and reinforce that identity. But the same rule works in your favor. When you start saying, I'm learning how to grow, your brain will begin to look for proof of that too. Rewriting your story starts with awareness. Pay attention to your internal dialogue. When something hard happens, what do you tell yourself? When you think about trying something new, what's the first reaction that shows up? Fear, doubt, or determination? You don't have to believe every thought that passes through your mind. Thoughts are not truths, they're suggestions. And you have the power to accept or reject them. This isn't about blind optimism, it's about reclaiming authorship over your own narrative. It's about understanding that just because you felt stuck doesn't mean you are stuck. You are not the same person you were when that old story began, and that means you don't have to keep repeating it. Your past is not your prison, it's your proof. Proof that you've made it through, proof that you're still standing, and proof that you can choose right now to write a different ending. When you start questioning your story, you begin to reclaim your power, and that is the moment your transformation begins. Number two, focus on identity. When people want to change their lives, they often start with action. They say things like, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m., or I'm going to start eating healthy, or I'll work harder than ever. But here's the catch. Actions without identity rarely stick. Because when your behavior doesn't match your beliefs about who you are, your old self always pulls you back. That's why real, lasting transformation doesn't begin with what you do. It begins with who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who always quits, guess what happens when things get tough? You quit. Not because you're weak, but because you're acting in alignment with the story you believe. If you think of yourself as someone who's disorganized, it won't matter how many planners you buy, you'll keep proving yourself right. Behavior follows identity, but flip that around and the game changes. Start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, as someone who adapts, as someone who is becoming better one small step at a time. That identity, even in its earliest form, starts to guide your actions. Suddenly it's not I have to write today, it's I'm a writer and this is what I do. It's not I hope I can stay committed, it's I'm the kind of person who honors my word. When you shift identity, you shift momentum. This isn't about lying to yourself, it's about anchoring to possibility. You may not be where you want to be yet, but you're showing up as the kind of person who gets there. that matters. Every time you take a small action that aligns with your new identity, you cast a vote for the person you're becoming. Want to become fit? Don't focus on the scale. Start with becoming the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. Want to be confident? Don't wait to feel fearless. Show up like someone who speaks with courage anyway. Want to be successful? Start acting like someone who solves problems and takes ownership. Small, repeated acts of identity alignment are how big change happens. Here's a simple mindset shift. Instead of asking, what do I need to do? Ask, who do I need to become? That question has power, because once you answer it, your decisions become clearer. You'll start choosing the habit, the response, the attitude that matches the identity you're building. And slowly, action becomes natural, not forced. You're not faking it, you're practicing it. Becoming the best version of yourself isn't an act, it's a series of consistent votes for your future. So if you want to become unstoppable, don't just chase better habits, build a stronger identity. Believe in the version of you that's resilient, capable, and committed. Then let your actions rise to meet that belief. Identity first, action second. That's how real change sticks. Number 3, make the first move. When you're stuck, everything feels heavy. The to-do list feels too long, the goal feels too far, and the future feels foggy. That weight convinces you to wait. I'll start when I have more time. I'll move when I have more clarity. I just need to feel more motivated. But here's the truth. Waiting to feel ready is the fastest way to stay stuck. Action doesn't follow motivation. Motivation follows action. That's why the most important thing you can do when you feel frozen is to make the first move, even if it's small, especially if it's small. Because small is doable, small breaks inertia, and once you're in motion, everything begins to shift. Think about a train. When it's at a dead stop, it can be blocked by a 1-inch obstacle. But once it's moving, that same train can break through walls. Your life works the same way. Inaction makes everything feel like a wall. Movement turns those walls into paper. The goal isn't to overhaul your life in one day. It's to take a single step in the direction of progress. Write 1 sentence, do 5 push-ups, make 1 phone call, cancel 1 distraction. These acts may seem insignificant, but they're not. They're proof that you're no longer waiting to be rescued. You're taking responsibility, and responsibility is the foundation of freedom. Small steps compound, not just in results, but in identity. Each time you act, even in the tiniest way, you reinforce the belief, I'm someone who moves forward. That belief is a seed, and every action you take is water. Over time, it grows into unstoppable momentum. Don't underestimate what one small act can trigger. It's the difference between a day lost to hesitation and a day gained to progress. You don't need to map out the next 5 years, you just need to make this hour count. Still not sure where to start? Use the 2-minute rule. Whatever goal you have, shrink it to something you can do in 2 minutes or less. Want to read more? Open the book and read 1 paragraph. Want to get fit? Put on your shoes and walk around the block. Want to launch your business? Write down 1 idea. The moment you take action, your brain stops spinning stories and starts building progress. Perfectionists struggle here the most, because they want the right action, the perfect plan, but what they really need is movement. Clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. Confidence isn't built in your head, it's built through motion. So if you feel stuck today, don't try to figure it all out, just make the first move. Because motion creates clarity, action creates energy, progress creates belief. The first step doesn't have to be heroic. It just has to happen. Your future is waiting on the other side of that first, small move. Take it. Then take another. That's how you go from stuck to unstoppable. Number 4, trade shame for shame is a silent anchor. It keeps you stuck in the same patterns, the same thoughts, and the same cycle of self-blame. When you feel stuck, it's tempting to beat yourself up. Why can't I get it together? What's wrong with me? I should be further along by now. But shame doesn't inspire change. It paralyzes it. You can't hate yourself into growth. You can only understand yourself into transformation. That's why one of the most powerful shifts you can make is to trade shame for curiosity. Instead of judging your behavior, study it. Instead of berating yourself for being stuck,
Explore why. Ask better questions, not the kind that punish, but the kind that unlock answers. Start with this one. What's really going on here? Maybe you're procrastinating, not because you're lazy, but because you're afraid of failure. Maybe you keep quitting because deep down you don't believe success is for you. Maybe you repeat the same patterns because they feel familiar, even if they're painful. When you get curious, you get clarity, and clarity is the first step toward change. Think of it this way. If you were helping a friend, would you yell at them for struggling, or would you try to understand what they're going through? You'd probably choose compassion. Now imagine offering that same level of compassion to yourself. Shame says, I'm broken. Curiosity says, I have a pattern and I can learn from it. Shame says, I always mess this up. Curiosity says, what keeps causing me to fall off track? This shift matters more than you might think, because when you approach your challenges with curiosity, you activate your problem-solving mind. You create space for solutions. You get out of emotional paralysis and into intentional change. It's not about avoiding responsibility, it's about replacing self-blame with self-awareness. One leads to powerlessness, the other leads to progress. Try this exercise. The next time you slip, fail, or freeze, don't ask, what's wrong with me? Ask instead, what did I need in that moment that I didn't give myself? That's how you uncover the root of the problem, and that's how you begin to solve it from the inside out. Here's the beautiful part. The more curious you become, the more compassionate you get. And the more compassionate you get, the more likely you are to keep going. Because people don't quit when they feel supported, they quit when they feel ashamed. So let this be your new rule. No more shaming yourself into silence. No more beating yourself up for being human. Instead, become a student of your patterns. Investigate them, like a detective, not a judge. Because every time you choose curiosity over shame, you rewrite the story. You move from feeling stuck in who you were to discovering who you can become. Remember, stuck isn't a flaw, it's a signal. Get curious, and you'll find the way forward. Number 5. Upgrade your... You are a product of your environment, whether you realize it or not. The people you spend time with, the spaces you live in, the content you consume, all of it is shaping your mindset, habits, and identity. If you're feeling stuck, it's not always because you're broken or unmotivated. Sometimes, it's because you're trying to grow in soil that won't let you. You don't rise above your environment, you rise with it. That's why one of the most powerful ways to go from stuck to unstoppable is to intentionally upgrade what surrounds you. Because your environment is either reinforcing the story that keeps you stuck or supporting the one that sets you free. Let's start with people. Who are you spending time with? Are they building you up or keeping you small? Are your conversations filled with possibility or complaints? The energy around you is contagious. If you're always surrounded by negativity, doubt, or mediocrity, it's going to infect your mindset. But when you spend time with people who believe in growth, who talk about ideas, goals, and action, you start rising to match their energy. Sometimes, upgrading your environment means having hard boundaries. That doesn't mean cutting people off cold, it means creating space for voices that push you forward, not pull you back. You don't have to apologize for protecting your peace. That's not selfish, that's self-respect. Now think about your physical space. Is it cluttered, chaotic, draining, or does it reflect clarity, intention, and focus? You don't need a fancy setup, but you do need a space that invites movement, not avoidance. Clean your room, organize your workspace, get rid of things that drain your energy. Your outer world reflects your inner world, and sometimes cleaning one helps heal the other. And let's not forget your digital environment. What you scroll, watch, and listen to shapes your thinking. Are you feeding your mind with inspiration or distraction? Do your daily inputs lift you toward the life you want, or lull you into forgetting it? Books, podcasts, mentors, audio messages, these aren't luxuries. They're tools to stretch your thinking, fuel your confidence, and help you stay focused on your higher self. You don't need to consume more content, you need to consume better content. Upgrading your environment isn't about being perfect, it's about being intentional. You can't always control everything around you, but you can influence more than you think. Start small. Spend 5 more minutes a day in spaces that energize you. Have one less conversation with someone who drains you. Replace 1 hour of mindless scrolling with 1 page of something that makes you think bigger. The moment you take control of your environment, you take control of your momentum. Because you begin to realize that change isn't just about willpower, it's about design. And when your environment supports your growth, you don't have to fight for progress. You flow toward it. Upgrade what's around you, and you'll transform what's within you. That's how you break free from stuck and become unstoppable. Number 6, become there's someone out there right now, someone you may never meet, who needs to see that change is possible. Not just in theory, not just in a book, but in a real person, and that person can be you. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to rise, to try again, to rewrite your story in public. Because when you do that, you become more than a survivor. You become evidence. Think about the people who've inspired you the most. Were they flawless? No. They were human, but they kept going. They showed what it looked like to struggle, to fail, and to keep reaching for something more. That's what we really connect with. Not the highlight reel, but the honesty of progress. You have that same power. When you choose to grow, when you choose to stop shrinking your life to fit your fear, you send a message to the world. If I can do it, maybe you can too. That message echoes further than you realize. It reaches your family, your friends, your coworkers, people who might be stuck in silence, waiting for permission to believe again. You give them that permission by living your transformation out loud. But let's make one thing clear. This isn't about becoming a motivational speaker or building an audience. This is about becoming the living, breathing proof that a person can change their life from the inside out. That stuck doesn't mean broken. That your past doesn't define your future. Even if no one's watching right now, even if your efforts feel invisible, keep going. Because the person who benefits first and most from your growth is you. You build strength in the doing. You build belief in the showing up. And over time, you become the kind of person you once thought only existed in books or dreams. This is how you change your life and lead by example at the same time. You don't need to announce it, just live it. Let your consistency do the talking. Let your energy shift. Let your boundaries sharpen. Let your focus speak for itself. And the more you grow, the more you'll look back and realize you've become the person you once needed. That's the real victory, not just the success, but the story you created with your life. A story that says, yes, it's hard. Yes, I doubted myself, but I kept going, and it was worth it. You're not here to prove anything to anyone. You're here to become something powerful, something purposeful, someone who didn't let the old story win. Let your life be the proof that transformation is real, that stuck is temporary, and that with enough intention, effort, and belief, anyone, including you, can go from stuck to unstoppable. The pen is in your hand. Now write the story that someone else will one day thank you for.